All right, so I am back, and today we've got, I'm going to be doing a comparison video between these two molds. Now, what we have is, this is the MP-11 mold, Sunstorm version, but we're not really looking at the character, we're looking at the mold. So this is the updated Takara and Hasbro MP Seeker mold. Okay, this is the Igear Seeker mold, MP Igear Seeker mold, which is based on an altered version of the original MP Seeker mold. Now, I was gonna get the chart out and do full chart comparison, but honestly, I'm gonna give you my thoughts right off the bat on this topic. My honest opinion is that these guys are equally as good as each other. With the MP-11, the official one, being a hair better than the Igear one. And we're going to go through everything we can. We're going to start off with jet mode, and then we're going to switch over to robot mode, because I have spare robots that we can look at. But just being official makes this one just, honestly, the better version is because this one's official. It's got the tempoed decals on the wing as opposed to stickers. So, and we'll go into every aspect of the figures in the molds. The original Seeker mold, I can't remember which MP it was, but the original one, came out with Starscream, which was a horrible repaint of Starscream, horrible paint job, and it also had some of its own issues as it went. That one is dead. Just let that mold rest in peace. If you're going to be buying MP Seekers, I recommend either looking at the MP-11 or the Igear, and I will show you all the differences in this video so that you know which one you would prefer, because that's what it really boils down to, is your own personal preference on this one. Moving these guys off to the side, the first thing we're going to do is take a quick peek at accessories. So they both do come with the stand, and they are identical. The only difference is the fact that this one has the tempoed logo right here. Yes, this is Storm's stand. My Sunstorm didn't come with a stand, and this was just readily available. And it's got the Decepticon logo right there. This one doesn't. This one's got using like a darker clear plastic for the base, and this is using the lighter clear. Other than that, there's no real difference. So you can actually take the Igear one and plug it onto the Acid Storm base. These bases never worked the best to begin with. But as you can see, it can be done pretty simple. It just hooks on there. So there's no difference in the bases. I have noticed the tolerances on the Igear one a lot tighter. So it's a lot more difficult to get this into position. And I remember I had the same problem with the original MP Seeker too. Whereas this one, it slides out pretty easily. So, and then you can, put it up there for bot mode. Luckily, we don't need the stand for either of these for bot mode. So there you go. There's those accessories. Now, my Igear Seekers did not come with the little rider dude or the clip. I don't know if that is just typical of the mold. Like if Igear just didn't do it, or if mine just didn't come with them. I can't say mine came loose, so I don't know if they came with it or not. So, but even if it doesn't, neither one of these accessories are even remotely important. I really, really can't sit here and say, man, I am really disappointed in my Igear Thundercracker because it didn't come with a gun clip for a gun that doesn't really exist anymore, and because this was supposed to be for the gun that came with the MP-11 Optimus Prime, which was much bigger than the current MP gun. And oh man, I don't have either the Random Pilot or the Dr. Acaville minifigure. That ruined my day. I don't care. Yeah. Now, they did both come with these missile pods. So, the Sunstorm one and the Acid Storm one actually have some paint detail. The Igear ones, all the ones I have are just plain black. Other than that, they're identical. Except for the port. You can see the port is worked out a little bit differently. Now, to install them, the camera. When all else fails, punch the camera. To install them on your Seekers, you just pull off the null rays, and then you can take these and just plug them in under the wing, just like so. And then you'll have missile pods. Not bad. For the MP-11 mold, I gotta stop grabbing them by the nose cones. Both of them popped off like that. For the MP-11 mold, what you have to do is you have to unplug this and then disconnect this ball joint to plug these in, like so. So you can still do it, but you actually have to disassemble the figure rather than unplugging the ports. So this is one of the first one of the you win some, you lose some with these molds, is the fact that the Sunstorm, he doesn't have to parts form to transform the null rays into robot mode, whereas the Thundercracker does. So official doesn't, unofficial does. Now, the downside of that is the fact that you do have to disassemble a ball joint if you want to utilize the accessories that came with the mold. So if you want to use these, you have to take the null rays off. If you want to use these, you have to take the null rays off, but you don't have to undo a ball joint. So there you go. There's first difference on that. So again, you can just take these out, and they look good. They look good. Either one of them do. Now with the Igear one, the ports here are really long, so you can see when I plug it in, it sticks out quite a bit. There, and it's even noticeable in bot mode, whereas this is more flushed. That's going to be an easy fix because I'm just going to trim that down. Now I do have the original MP Skywarp null rays because I had one and he just completely got destroyed. Now the interesting thing is that like this will not plug into the wing here. So that's interesting. Will it plug into this wing? And it will plug into this one. So they did redesign the porthole and the plug and all that. So just in case you're thinking about reusing old null rays, you can't. Now, the next thing to look at, I'm leaving the null rays on, so that it's more similar to look at. Next thing I want to point out, they both still have the flip up canopy here, or flip open thing. This one you can see it's got like a pin in the middle. This one does not, so it's a little bit better designed for aesthetic purposes, although it's a piece that I never really utilize. The canopy opens. None of them have any more detail than the other. You still have this flip up brake on both of them. And then you still have this one on the back too. This will flip up. On both of them. So it's there. Main difference on that mold is the fact that this is just molded in detail, whereas this is the heel spurs. These are on ball joints, so they can pivot around. Same thing on this one. Now, you did see another thing I wanted to point out. This has the clipped-on wings. Now, that's both a good thing and a bad thing. Like I said, not much of this really detracts from the overall figure. But these are clipped-on wings. They pop off pretty easily, which is good because if you put too much pressure on it, it'll pop out as opposed to breaking. Problem with it is that, as you can see, it's a little floppy and comes off. And that's true to every single version of this mold I've had. The wings do it too, but I can show that off better in robot mode. The tail fins pop off pretty easily. Difference here is that this tail fin is all closed off, so it does not. It doesn't have the option of just popping out. If you put too much pressure on it, it's going to break. That's the difference. That's the takeaway. It doesn't flop around. It doesn't fall off easily. But if you put too much pressure on it, it will break. Will not break if you put too much pressure on it, but flops around and falls off easily. There's your takeaway. Like, if you're planning on letting your kid play with them, this is going to be a better one to put back together. This one, not so much. And then the other main difference in, I guess let me show off real quick. They do both still have the landing gear. You can see that folds out. That folds out. This piece opens, and this piece here is always a pain to get out, but you can, put it out. Looks good. And it's the exact same on this one. Landing gear pops out. Pops out. This one opens up, and it's a pain to get out. Now, and they are die-cast parts on both of them. All the die-cast is the same on both of these. Only difference is that with the Igear ones, they did not... what's going on with the color here? My color all of a sudden freaked out. Let's get a white car. Can you focus on the car? That's not helping. I don't know what's going on with the color, but we're gonna keep going. So the diecast is the same on both of them, just this one's not painted, so it doesn't really, it's all personal preference there. And I don't think it affects it whatsoever. And then the other main difference for jet mode is the fact that Man, that color is really bugging me. Oh, come on. There we go. The other main difference on the color, or on the molds, is the fact that they redesigned a lot on the MP-11 mold, more so than I originally thought, until I got the Igear ones, because the Igear ones are almost identical to the original one, only slight variations. So you see, this is more squared off. All of it is more of a squared off look and finish to it. Not saying that that's bad, but that's much more of a there's a robot under the jet look. Whereas this one is much more rounded. It's more filled out, more rounded, more smooth, more like a jet would look, not so square. The rounded look is more aerodynamic. The square look is more not so aerodynamic. So yeah. And then also the null rays on these guys, which is different than the original one too. But the null rays can pull out. So if you want to make it look like he just shot his missile, you can. I don't know the purpose of this, but it's there. There you go. And then we'll take a look at robot mode here, because I do have the acid storm, obviously, because that's the base we were using earlier. And we'll use Skywarp, because the Starscreams wouldn't show up very well on the camera with the lights. So if I don't have to use it, I'm not going to. Alright, so here we have the two molds together. Now, there is a lot of differences in between these two molds, a lot of similarities. And one thing I do want to go through while we're talking is a reminder that while technically this is a KO, because it did just take the original Seeker mold and redesign it, that Igear did their redesigns on this mold before Takara did the redesigns on their version. So this actually came before this one. And then, of course, the original Seeker, MP Seeker mold came before all of them. But this guy came before him. So most of these redesigns that are on the figure, like the legs being, or the tail fins being on the legs, that was something Igear did first. Then Takara did it. Of course, and then Hasbro just jacked the mold. So, what we got going on? So, we'll go from top to bottom. Articulation stays the same on all of them. Head is on a ball joint, up, down, left, right. It's on like a double peg too. Shoulders ratchet up and down, in and out. Bicep swivel, double bend elbow. Hand rotates, thumbs on a ball joint. All the fingers are on ball joints. The bottom three fingers are one piece. They hinge too, but they're all connected. And then he's got the one finger. So he's got that. They both have a tiny bit of a waist swivel. The Igear ones have a little bit more play in it than the official ones. Hips ratchet up and down, in and out. Thigh swivel, bends at the knee. It's a double bend knee, but everything gets caught up in the back, so you're not going to get too far. And then the foot has like a little bit of a give, and there's a rocker kind of deal right there. Main difference on articulation here is that they have, the official one has a little bit of a play with the heel. So, alright, so top to bottom. First thing you're going to notice is the head sculpts are different. Moving them closer, because this is based off the original move him out of the way. This is based off the original MP mold. So this has to be a little bit narrower so that it can fit into the gap to transform it. Now, the main difference being here also is you can pull the face down and then rotate it around, and you have a different smirk there. So you do have that option. But yeah, the original one, it had to be narrow so it can fit in through all these tight gaps back there when you go to transformation. Now the MP-11 mold, you can see much better mold design, and the reason why the head is also thicker is because these are on springs. So if you squeeze them in, it's the same size. But the face does not pull down, so you can't change out the face. So there's that difference. So face swap, original transformation, or better head, and no face swap. Now because these things are on springs, it does make the transformation a little bit more difficult. Just to let you know. Next big difference is, like the original mold here. Can't even see that. Like the original MP Seeker mold, he's got this piece hanging off the side of his vents right here. And that's part of the jet. That's part of what keeps it smooth. Now, he does not have that piece hanging off the side. But instead, he's got the long pointed pieces hanging off the bottom of the wings. So that's where that piece goes. He does not. It cleans up a little bit better. So have it up here or have it down here. Those are your choices. Also, because of the way this is more rounded, he's got more pieces in the back on the backpack. Although it still folds up pretty nice, and it doesn't make any difference from the front. He does not. He doesn't have that. So, which, because of both of those, he kind of needs to have his wings kind of at an angle going back, whereas his can stay straight out to the sides. You can angle them back if you want to. So there's that. All right, next little bit of difference is on the arms. Now, here we've got much more streamlined robot arms. As you can see, they're more squared. They go straight down. Nothing too out of the ordinary there with regular old robot arms. Now he's got a little bit thicker arms because that helps. Because these pieces here help fill out the jet to make it look a little bit more rounded. It's on the back here, right here. And it goes down. Now, this is something Igear put in here, which is different than the official ones, the original mold too. But under here, it's got this little plate. You flip up, and there you got a little picture of Megatron, a little keyboard. So it's a little communication thing going on there, and that's true on both sides. And all of them have like little different pictures in there too. Like he's got Ramjet in this side and a little keyboard. So he can be sitting there talking to somebody on a communicator. So again, if that's something that tickles your fancy, then by all means, get that. Another thing I want to show off here, and none of my Igear Seekers so far have this problem, but I've had quite a few MP-11s that did have this problem, and I think you guys all will agree that it's true. Even Imgo, he actually just did this in I can't remember which video, but he just did the same thing. Apollyon, his Apollyon review, because a lot of people are trashing Apollyon because he had problems, and he's like, yeah, MPs never have problems, right? So this is something I've had happen with a lot of my official MPs, with the Seeker mold. It just that. Whereas this thing locks in there tight, and there is no falling out. My Sunstorm does not have that problem, but my previous Sunstorm did. I also had the official MP Starscream at one point with the big cape and stuff like that, and he had the problem. So, yeah. Alright, so we've got different little waist plates here. So those are a little bit different. There's nothing pros or cons with the differences on these. I mean, they both look good, so I can't sit here and say that there's a main difference here. The tail fins. Now, the original MP mold... Oh, he's got side skirting. He's got side skirting right here. He does not. I guess... that's different. I didn't notice that. Okay. So there you go. He's got side skirting. He does not. But the original MP mold had the tail fins hanging off a pole from right here. Just hanging off right like that. You know, a lot of people ended up modding theirs and cutting the pole off and gluing them into place. So, and none of the original MPs could stand on their own. You had to have the stand. So both of these had the same retooling done, although in different ways, of having the tail fins attached to the legs. So here he's got his right here, as you can see, and they're actually supposed to be up here like this. So there's that, and they just slide straight up and down. No problems whatsoever. It looks good. It it's fine. Only issue here is this. You know, those are floppy. Now with the Igear one, slightly different design. Again, you got a little bit thicker because it's because the jet's more rounded. But instead of having the heel spur in the back, they designed it so that this could be the heel spur. So in jet mode, this is actually down here like this, and it slides up at an angle. It slides this way as opposed to straight up and down. So it slides up at an angle, and then you use the tail fin as the heel spur. And it provides the perfect support. No problems there. So, personal preference, really. Next thing, see, and his knees are different. Wow, I mean, they really did a lot of redesigns. His knees are more squared, whereas his are more rounded. He's got a bigger piece right here, where he's got a smaller piece. His feet are more squared, whereas his is rounded. Show the difference on the feet. So there's that. Also, again, this is the same thing. When you're transforming it, you'll notice it, but you can pull the wings off. They're just on these little clip systems. So if there's too much pressure going on, you'll pull the wings off. This is not as bad as the tail fins. The tail fins really kind of bug me because sometimes they really, really get in the way. Let me clip this back in here. There you go. Oh. And then these guys' wings are they're not on that clip system. They don't fall off. They're stationary. So again, it's one of those, if you put too much pressure on it, you're going to break it. But it does hold a lot better than theirs. Now, that is not nearly as bad as the tail fins. So yeah. So there you go. Those are all the differences on these guys. Weight-wise, the official one does feel a little bit heavier. But it's not like, oh my god, this thing's super light. It's just the slightest bit. I don't have a scale to weigh these things on. I probably should get a scale at some point. But yeah, it's not that different. It's not like, oh my god, that thing is super light. It is noticeable when you pick both of them up at the same time. But if you pick one up right after the other, you're not gonna realize it. But yeah, all in all, like I said, I mean, the main difference is, and the plastic feels great on these guys. It feels just as good as these guys. I really can't sit here and say that this guy feels cheaper than this guy, even though this guy is cheaper, depending on what you buy. Now, the other big difference is the fact that from all my research, you can pick up these guys typically for around $100 a piece. You can pick up these guys for typically about $100 a piece. But the main three is where you're going to spend a lot of money. The Thundercracker for the MP-11 was originally like $70, and even got clearance at one point. But it's currently going for closer to $200 right now. The Starscream, which is the same mold as this, only he gets a cape and a crown, goes for $200. An extra $100 for a cape. The Skywarp in this mold, which is exactly like this mold, does not come with a crown or cape, is $230. So if you're okay with spending $600 for the main three, then by all means get that. You're going to be happy. But these guys are typically going for about $100 a piece or so. And you could get them, in the main three colors, and, you'll have your Seekers. You do have to deal with slight differences in the molds. That's up to you. They stand... Holy crap. I didn't notice that. These are taller. The Igear Seekers are taller. Like, to the tail... I mean, look at that. The Igear Seekers are taller. Huh. There you go. Alright. Anyway. So you can get the main three for about $100 a piece. And that's about where I value the MP Seeker mold. $100. I can't sit here and say, $200 is a good purchase for a $100 Seeker. When you can get the $100 Seekers in Toys R Us, just not in the right colors. I don't think spending an extra $130 to get the Skywarp is worth it. I have a hard time sitting here and saying that is a good purchase. So aside from that, and the differences that I showed, those are the differences in the mold. So it's up to you if you want which one you want to buy. I, for one, like I said, have no problems with the Igear ones. I really like these guys. Now that I know that they're taller too. They're sturdier. They're a little bit lighter, but they're sturdier. They hold together. I have no problems with the clips, the wings not falling off, because I'm not planning on transforming these guys a whole lot. So they're gonna get transformed one more time for the reviews as I go through them, because I will give reviews to all these guys. But yeah, they're just they're just gonna sit on my shelf. They're collectors items. They're not yeah. You get what I'm saying. I'm not going to be playing with them too much, so I'm not worried about breaking them. Now, the other difference is that they also have an orange Sunstorm, which I will be getting. Orange as opposed to the yellow, which yes, he was yellow in the cartoon. I like orange though. I really want an orange Seeker. So if I get him, then I will actually have 6 Seekers because I have the main 3 in Igear, and I've got Acid Storm and Sunstorm with the Hasbro version. So I'll have, and then I'll have an orange Seeker. So I'll have black, blue, gray, green, yellow, orange. Until I can get cone heads. Now, Igear did do retools of these guys into the cone heads where certain things didn't work as well as these guys. And they go for an insane amount of money right now on eBay. So I wish I could get them for a good price. I really wish they would reissue them for about $100 a piece. I think they would make a lot of money on that, especially now that the MP Seekers are being sought again. So anyway, there you go. Like I said, this guy's only better because he's official. But there are some issues. Not so much here. So yeah, it's up to you which one you want. But you can't go wrong either way.